Hello, and welcome to House of Decline. Today, we have Steven, as always.
Ahoy hoy.
And we have a very special guest, Marino.
Ohio Gunbai Matsu.
we have our resident anime expert. Not really. He's just another one of us that likes anime.
I have seen an anime within the past 2 years.
Yes, me too. We've all seen animes within the past 2 years, but also very few of our cohort can say the same thing, which is why we brought you on, because you have some sort of passing knowledge of the wonderful Japanese art form known as anime.
I respect it.
And Marino is from the Great Big Shiny Takes podcast, which you should all listen to and subscribe to. And Marino, what do you do on the Big Shiny Takes podcast?
Well, thanks for asking, Alex. We like to skewer the Canadian pundit class as fledgling journalism students at varying degrees of employment and frustration with the Canadian journalism industry. It's tough to see. It's tough to see things like CBC pulling reporters from coverage from Israel-Palestine for signing a very fairly worded letter, or seeing AP bend over backwards to fire an employee. The worst part of all these mainstream media outlets is the column section, and these columnists just don't get any pushback. They just get a bunch of boomers writing letters agreeing with them. So that's what our podcast is there to do, and just poke fun. And believe me, there's no shortage of material to laugh at.
Oh yeah, just your podcast has introduced me to the likes of total sick freaks like Joe Warmington and Barbara Kay. And I'm glad I know these characters, because I'm a connoisseur of these terrible characters. And I'm glad, at the very least, at least we're giving $120K a year to Joe Warmington to generate just being a weird dude. He just generates various iterations of being a weird dude, and you're here to capture some of those iterations. And It's a great show.
Thank you. And yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. These ghouls are paid newsrooms are strapped, everyone's overworked, underpaid, and then these ghouls are paid six figures to once a week write academic freedom is white people being able to say the N-word.
Yeah, absolutely. And, in terms of an analysis of power and how these people get power and why these people are empowered to do certain things, we are analyzing a show that has everything to do with that, which is the venerable Hunter x Hunter. It is stylized.
This game.
Which character is that, Stephen?
That is the gourmet hunter.
That is. Is he? He's the big fella. He's the big gourmet hunter.
He
fella.
hits his gong belly to signify the start, or as they say, starto.
Starto, yes, it is the starto. Yeah. And Hunter x Hunter is a show about people with extraordinary power attempting to navigate an incredibly cruel world that, even if you do have extraordinary power, is incredibly stacked against you. And you have to take on sort of a vicious or hunter-like morality in order to survive. Everyone is always predator and prey simultaneously, which I think when you investigate, if there's any underlying thesis of Hunter x Hunter, it is sort of this strange, not might makes right philosophy, but the idea that you have to gather this incredible strength in order to just survive in this world. But this strength is bolstered by also your strength of community, by your friends who possess similar goals and similar strength. Mm-hmm. And in a way, people find morality in Hunter x Hunter not through any sort of political or abstract aspirations, but rather through their relationships with others. Which is, all of these are interesting factors that I'd like to get into. But let's talk about Marino. How did you initially get into this show?
So it was recommended to me by a sadly now former friend of mine. I won't get into that drama, but boom, right off the bat. Talk about the power of friendships. But I digress. No, he was a big anime fan, and that was an excellent recommendation. Sorry, I'm just hearing an echo of myself.
Uh-oh. Who's the guilty party?
Who is
everyone?
the guilty
It's
party?
everyone turned down.
Keep talking. Power through it.
Yeah. It stands. Even though that friendship fell through, it still stands as one of my favorite anime, variously at the top, alternating with Legend of the Galactic Heroes, which is also high quality, but a very, very different show. That one's more like a traditional Greek epic meets a space opera. But Hunter x Hunter, what struck me when I was initially watching it was its ability to subvert expectations and how it was very obviously like a meta approach to shonen in general. And like you were touching on, Alex, I think it formalizes that aspect of shonen where it's just like, yeah, the entire world is framed around this like power level system, but like Hunter x Hunter is like, let's make that very explicit.
But yeah, also the power level system is very different than sort of like the Dragon Ball Z or even in Togashi's previous work. Togashi is the author of the manga, Yoshihiro Togashi, and his previous work, Yu Yu Hakusho, which was also very popular, had this very sort of linear power progression where people get stronger, and you can basically measure that with a number. You know, in Dragon Ball Z, people like talk about, even though, power levels are, bullshit because the point is Goku exceeds them every time, there is still this sort of like linear power progression. With Hunter x Hunter, the power system is more about how clever you can be with your power. So you have people that don't have like a lot of raw power in the show, but through being smart about the incredibly elaborate power system that's used in the show, they can defeat enemies stronger than themselves, which I think is, or even in like before even the power system is explicated, there's a great fight in season 1 of Gon versus Hanzo, and Gon just uses psychology against his opponent in order to win, essentially. Which I think is, and that's a fascinating fight that I could get into. But yeah,
he wins him over by his main power, which is getting beat up.
Yeah. But oh man, that's so great. So I'll just go into just describing some stuff we love. So at the end of the first season, they're doing the hunter exam, which is the exam you need to become a hunter. In the show, a hunter is this person with enhanced rights because they've shown themselves to be of a superior ability, and so they have greater freedom of movement. They have access to bounties. They can hunt for bounties that only hunters can. They get like
a personal credit line, access to an intranet. It's nuts.
Yes.
Yeah,
so,
are they the only ones in the world who get the internet?
That's a good question.
Because I took a note. I've been taking notes as I've been watching the show, and I remember when they don't introduce the internet until season 2 almost. And when they did, I was like clapping. I was like, "Yes, there's the internet!" Because I'm a big fan of technology. So anytime there's a representation of the internet, I always get really excited. And the hunters, they have their own. I know they have their own websites. They have their own like websites for finding info out that no one else can get. But I think the rest of the world does have internet.
Yeah, they have their own OnlyFans, actually.
Yeah.
Right. There's Hunter OnlyFans.
I think it's basically like Hunter, like the whole premise of the anime is you have to get this license that gives you access to the dark web.
Yeah. After you get your Hunter license, that's where you can get the Bolivian cocaine. There just happens to be, in the Hunter x Hunter universe, there is a Bolivia and an Evo Morales as well.
It's not far off.
So they're going through the Hunter exam, and there's a tournament at the end, but it's a reverse tournament. So only one person will really lose because they keep it doesn't. The logistics of the tournament don't matter. It's boring. But Gon fights a straight up fucking ninja called Hanzo, who's obviously much more powerful than Gon. But the point of the fight is not whoever loses, but who gives up first. And Gon, who is the main character, and he's this like simplistic, basic shonen character in that he's he's like Goku, or he's like Naruto, where he's like happy-go-lucky, and his naivete is sort of part of his strength. It gives him this joie de vivre and this will that he wouldn't have without the naivete, which is a recurring theme amongst shonen protagonists. Same with like Monkey D. Luffy as well from One Piece. And so but he's not a simpleton though, and what he understands about his nature is how it conflicts with other natures. And so he fights Hanzo, and Hanzo is just breaking this kid's arms and shit. He's just like wrecking him. But Gon is like, I will continue to fight, and you are going to feel very guilty for breaking all of my limbs. And that's how Gon wins, by Hanzo being like, yeah, your will has dominated my will. I really don't want to break an 11-year-old's limbs. You know, even though I'm a badass ninja, you have called my bluff, and I don't want to do it. And that's how Gon wins. And I think that's such an amazing way to win a fight in an anime, just because you exploit rules. And that's what's sort of a huge theme throughout the show, is the exploitation of rules and how you can exploit rules in order to maximize power.
Yeah, the show is, it's like there's different arcs, and in each arc they are generally playing a game of some kind with defined rules, and part of what they have to do is figure out what the rules are, whether they're doing the hunter exam, or they're trying to reach the top of a tower of basically like a is it Tower of Power, or is it, what's the Bruce Lee
tournament tower?
What's the Bruce
Game
Lee
of
thing
Death.
where he has to climb? Yeah, the tower. I don't know. They have to climb the tower.
Yeah, it's a classic pagoda situation. You gotta face progressively stronger opponents going up the pagoda.
And then there's another. They're on Greed Island, which is a video game, and there's rules. There's all these. The rules are very important. Figuring out what the rules are.
Even in the main power system of Nen is very rules-based. And one of the main precepts of Nen is the more rules and restrictions you place on your Nen abilities, the more powerful they become, which allows one of our favorite characters, Kurapika, to effectively wield his Nen in a way such that he is able to overcome his major enemies, the Phantom Troop. Do you have any favorite fights or just things that immediately spring to mind, Marino, when you think of Hunter x Hunter? Keep in mind, we're doing only light spoilers for Season 5, because Steven has not seen Season 5 yet.
Indeed. There's definitely a lot of cool scenes in Season 5, so I'll just leave that at that. Early on, I do like all the Mad Bomber stuff. I like the tower. I like, obviously, the Gon Hisoka fight is pretty pivotal. And even the fight previous to that, where they're sort of like introducing like Nen fights, and it's like Hisoka versus that pretty boy fellow who gets completely wrecked.
Castro totally murders him.
Is it Castro, that one?
Yeah,
I think that is Castro. Doesn't he have a power where he just splits into like a double?
Yeah,
and
he has
that's
double
it?
power.
That's stupid.
Not so
That's
good.
lame.
Yeah.
Not so good. Some Nen abilities better than others.
Yeah, Bungee Gum is the top tier Nen ability.
Bungee Gum, top tier Nen ability, can do so much. Very versatile, you know. And so Hisoka, who is Hisoka, Marino?
Oh, so Hisoka is this. Ooh, how do you describe Hisoka? I'll put it this way. I recommended Hunter x Hunter to like assistant manager of mine at my last job, who was like an anime fan and stuff. So, and I was hoping she would like get into it and see, but like the fight with Gon and Hisoka was the point where she checked out, and that's because Hisoka is a weird like pedophile clown sort of dude. It's hard to say. It's hard to say if he's really a pedophile or if he just gets aroused by like battle. But
he gets aroused by power. And
here's a little clip.
Turns out
I have a bunch of these of Hisoka just talking about Gon.
Yeah. Who is 11.
Okay, well, it's hard to hear, but he's kind of perving out on Gon, and he kind of pervs out on Gon the whole series.
He's pretty into Gon. He has a special interest.
Yeah, he's grooming Gon, basically. But Gon is, he's literally grooming Gon, because what Hisoka, more than anything else, lusts for power. You know, he literally physically lusts for power. He gets a boner for power. And that's why he does anything that he does, because he is drawn hedonistically and into this pleasure-seeking way to that pursuit of power. But that's what makes Hisoka very interesting, because that means his allegiances can shift in an instant based on what he perceives to be the most hedonistic or pleasure-seeking route. It's why that sort of the idea of living hedonistically is not necessarily the most immoral idea on Earth, because sometimes it causes you to pursue someone else's benefit in order to maximize your own pleasure, which Hisoka does throughout the series, because early on, Hisoka, this pedophile clown, is perving out to these two very powerful 11-year-olds, and if he lusts for power, but he says he doesn't want to kill Gon because he wants Gon to get as powerful as possible before he fights him in a real fight, Yeah.
And at another point in the series, is this like a season 5 spoiler? No, this is like at the end of the auction arc when Hisoka is set to fight with the leader of the Phantom Troop.
Crollo, yeah.
Yeah, Crollo. Sorry, I'm just like trying to remember what is and isn't a spoiler. But like, yeah, he's set to fight with Crollo, and he's really anticipating and savoring this fight. And then it's like Crollo's Nen is blocked for whatever reason, and Hisoka is effectively cock blocked.
Yeah, he can't commit to it. He can't get it up because he knows he's not fighting his opponent at full power. And I think it's sort of cool where all of the main characters' motivations come from, because the idea of morality in this show is very blurred. Like, one of your main characters, who's your favorite and beloved and adorable, is Killua, who is a killer for hire. He's a literal assassin. He's raised from a family of assassins, and he meets Gon, our anime protagonist, and it's like, oh, that's cool as hell. You want to be best friends? And then they're like best friends throughout the entire series. Like, it's weird how people don't judge you for being like a murderer for hire in this world,
it's not his fault. He was, as we see in the first season, his family is manipulating him and forcing him and torturing him. My favorite character in the show is actually Killua's older fat brother. I think his name is Miluki. Who just eats potato chips and plays video games and does the only bit of computer programming we've seen so far when he tries to make a copy of Greed Island just from the saved memory cartridge that he gets.
He's a hacker.
Yeah, he's kind of like a hacker. He's the closest I've seen to a hacker hunter.
I'm trying to. One of the Phantom Troop's powers is vaguely hacky, but I don't know if you.
The guy with the cell phone.
Yeah, Shalnark.
I don't remember the name.
Yeah, I think
it's
so.
Shalnark. He's got a blonde bull haircut. He looks like a pretty boy, and he's got cell phone powers.
Yeah, I'm hoping there's more hacking in season 5, but I'm sure it's probably just
it's not really that much. It's not a hacky. It's not a technology show. Like, the technology is secondary. I mean, it's funny because it takes place vaguely with 21st century technology. You did allude to there being an internet, which makes it
But then
funny.
but then Gone comes from like this picturesque like 1860s Ireland kind of island where there's like a fish market. Like it's hard to place. It's a buffet of worlds in Hunter x Hunter.
There's a lot of variety and anachronisms, but it's sort of just by nature of introducing this type of world, which has this incredible variety of cultures and anachronistic places. Every season is different. You can go to a different place, and it has like this totally different vibe. Like season 1 is basically. It's basically a school manga. It's basically a high school manga, but like really advanced. You know, they're all trying to pass the test essentially, and they're all being friends with each other, trying to pass the test. Season 2 is a tournament arc. Season 3 is a film noir. Season 4 is we're trapped in a video game anime, not unlike Sword Art Online, except Greed Island is much better. And Season 5 is the most existentially terrifying thing I've ever seen.
It's funny too. The seasons, they're called arcs, which I find is interesting because it frees them up from having a set length. So like season 1 is 26 episodes, and then season 2 is like 12. Yeah. And then season 5 I've seen it's 61 episodes. So
and how those episodes are used are very funny as well.
Well, I really hope there isn't another episode where they're like, okay, this episode is we're trapped in a room and we have to wait.
Oh, very funny you say that, Steven.
No, it all fits together. Just keep watching. Trust me.
It all fits. I can honestly say if we're ranking the seasons, season 5 and season 3 are equal to me as the best seasons. The York New City arc and season 5.
I would be in agreement with that.
Then it goes 2, 4, 1, and that's pretty much it. That's how I would rank them. The first season, even though it's probably the weakest out of all of them, is still incredibly good because this world is incredibly diverse and weird, and there's just a lot to know about it. And what's funny is how violent and cruel it is, and how everyone just accepts that about it, and they've sort of moved on. And I think part of this episode I wanted to ask is that a lot of people online, a lot of people on Twitter, and a lot of people that otherwise don't like anime watch this show and praise this show and relate to this show a lot. And I think it's because it sort of mimics the world that we're in, this sort of unrepentantly cruel capitalism where the only thing you can do to get ahead is take this test where you might die, and then you get the freedom of power, but then you're ultimately changed and bilked into doing weird, immoral things by the system. Even Kurapika in his quest for revenge, joins the mafia, right? So... the Phantom Troop are born into the impoverished Meteor City, and as a result are forced to take on a life of crime. And you just develop this might makes right philosophy by necessity. And I think that's how people sort of feel in this world, where you can take the Hunter exam, but even then you still have to keep fighting. You can get your credentials. But even then, there are still baddies way more powerful than you and hunters way more powerful than you.
Yeah, isn't it? There's like a statistic in the anime where it's like half of hunters or something or more don't keep their hunter license within the first year of getting it. And like that's so brutal. Like you already have seen how difficult it is just to pass the hunter exam. And that is already whittling down so many people, and then to have
people die trying to pass it. Yeah,
exactly. And then it just get like there's further thresholds. It's nuts. It's a very good observation.
Yeah, but ultimately, what gets these people through is their love for each other. The central defining relationship of the show is Gon and Killua. And I think that also speaks to people's experience, that through it all, through this incredibly cruel world, the thing that they rely on is their kinship with others. And that's the driving force beyond any sort of abstract morality. It's this sense of kinship which drives our protagonists. Even our most, stoic and revenge-driven protagonist, Kurapika, makes decisions based on his friendship for Leorio and Gon and Killua. I don't know. What do you think is popular, Marino, or what resonated about it with you, emotionally?
That's a good question. I think it did what a lot of shonen did in sort of being a bit of a power fantasy, yes, but it did it in a different way. Like you said, like Gon is much more relatable, and it's not just quantitative, it's qualitative. So you can think of like, I've got potential, I want to be like a success in this world, I want to be the protagonist. So you put yourself in their shoes, and I think that Hunter x Hunter just does it in a way that makes it more relatable. And it's not just about becoming a Super Saiyan or just like grunting really hard for 10 hours, even though there is a little bit of that. And determination does factor in, though.
Oh yeah, but even in Naruto, when you're in like, they have the relatable school thing, but it's in service of being drafted into this ninja paramilitary, which is much less where in Hunter x Hunter, it's like you're getting the credential for yourself, and now you're off in your little individualist boat to attempt to pursue your career or start a small hunter business or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, there's more open-ended. And there's never really a big like save the world goal, really. They're
I mean, there is in the 5th season, but that's more.
Yeah, but like it doesn't necessarily go like Gon's dad is a part of that, but it's never really ultimately about finding Gon's dad and stuff like that. There's just like, there's diversity, and like in other shonens, it's just like the One Piece, Frieza saga, Cell saga, Big Bad, or like you said, like the. Everything's all about like a Naruto paramilitary, and like that takes precedence over it. Like the Hunter Academy and stuff is there, but like they get their Hunter license and then they kind of do their own thing. There's no like real...
Yeah. The institutional power of the Hunter Academy does figure into the world, but it's not all about it.
Exactly. Also, it's not framed as this perfect entity either, but I digress.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, that's also a thing. What was the point I had? I had a point. I don't remember. Steven, you're new to this show. You've been watching it up to has it resonated with you? Does it make you feel different than other animes? Are you noticing it is different from other animes?
I don't think it's super different. I mean, it's a little more upbeat. It has a positive spirit. A lot of the other animes I have watched are not necessarily so positive, but I tend to only watch the like ones that filter down through the recommendations. Yes, it has started to resonate more. The things I've found the most interesting are the thing like when they describe how the government works. So in York New City, like the mafia runs the government. And there's, at one point, the gang is like, well, wow, all these police are work. Basically, it seems like the police are working for the mafia. And someone says, yeah, that's 60% of the vote was created by the mafia for the mayor. So the mafia just determines who's the mayor.
They rig the machines.
But then it's, when Meteor City is mentioned, there's one very important line, which is that according to the government, no one lives in Meteor City at all. It doesn't exist. So, but 10 million people actually live there, but they're nobodies. They don't count. And that it sort of informed me on the motives of the Phantom Troop, who they operate sort of metaphorically as a spider with various legs. That's the metaphor that's brought up. They have spider tattoos on them. And the leader of the Phantom Troop, or the head, of the spider, he really drills it into everyone in there that he's not important as a leader and that they can continue even if something were to happen with him or to him. Mm-hmm. And so they're kind of, I thought, a sort of revolutionary group fighting against the whoever, the York New City elite, stealing from them. I don't know if I don't necessarily think they want to then go redistribute the wealth to Meteor City poor people, but they're at least fighting the corruption in a certain way.
They're sort of like if anarcho-syndicalism, but instead of like having a communal farm, you were a communal group of assassins.
Slash art thieves.
Yeah, slash art. But I think that's what's interesting about them is because their motivations are very much interpersonal. And so they mirror Gon and Killua's motivations, which are very much about supporting each other in a cruel world. And you see in York New City when one of them dies eventually, Kurapika, or Revenge Boy, kills Uvogan, and the characters react emotionally. Not like you would like in a lesser anime, like the villains would be like, whatever, he decided to be this way, and they wouldn't care because they're villains. But these villains are very, very much care about each other and love each other, which is why I think they hit different than other villains. They have this sentimentality. And in this world where morality is established to be so fucking gray anyway, who's to say what they're doing is wrong? They're obviously wrong because they slaughtered Kurapika's entire clan and stole their eyes in order to sell on the black eye market. But
there's more nuance. It's not as black and white as your typical shonen, where things are either black and white or there's like tropes like the bad guy who sees the error of his ways and good. There's just something a little bit deeper. It's also it's like an anime fan's anime. It's not just like a meta shonen. It's like if you like other animes, you will dig how this one is very self-awarely constructing a world with sets of rules. Because animes love to construct fantastical worlds with idiosyncratic situations or rule sets or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very much a part of it. Like in One Piece, the geography of the world is very much integral to how the show progresses and why things are the way they are. I think that exploitation of rules and the fact that it can really go anywhere, and the fact that morality is seen as being more situational or contextual than necessarily abstract, I think is a very interesting thing. And, it speaks to the fact that, well, we're all made hunters by the system, right? We're all forced to be hunters by the system. We're all forced to be predators in a way. This is just the way the world is. And nobody can conceive any way to get out of it. Like, it's weird, like, at any point in the show, is there criticism of the Hunter Association? Like, it shows the Hunter Association to be imperfect, but I don't think the show really depicts the Hunter Association as being, like, negative or indicting them in any way. It usually shows them to be sort of a necessity in this world that they've established to be incredibly cruel. So I don't think, Togashi takes a position against the idea of institutions in general. But it definitely is interesting to see the way that the Hunter Association influences the world around it by virtue of its power. I don't know. Just spitballing.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen the full series. Are there a total of 5 seasons or 6 seasons?
There's a total of 5 seasons,
and then there's some like movies or something.
Are there movies?
There's like a 10-episode thing at the end that's kind of a 6th season, I think.
Yeah, but that gets subsumed into the 5th season usually.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
I know the manga's what was I going to say? Is actually still going on, but they're on hiatus, I think, right?
Yeah, Togashi, he's a very interesting character in general. He is one of the few manga authors who is like, I'm straight up fucking depressed, and you need to give me time to work because I am because he was the daily struggles of one of those weekly Shonen Jump guys, or it's just a horrible life. You're just drawing constantly. You're drawing for 14 hours a day, even with assistance.
Doesn't Akira Toriyama still live in his mom's basement? I don't know.
No.
That may.
Akira Toriyama's house is really cool. Actually, you should look up Akira. You should look up Akira Toriyama's house. It's badass. It's literally Dragon Ball Orange.
That's super sick. I will have to do that.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the Wikipedia of Togashi, and he's married to the author of Sailor Moon.
Yes, he is.
Wow.
That's super cool. I didn't know that. He's married to Naoko Takeuchi?
Yeah, you knew the name. It's just very funny.
Yeah, well, because I'm a huge fucking Sailor Moon fan. Sailor Moon is... And I love Naoko Takeuchi's reason for why she created Sailor Moon, which was, I just dreamt of girls that I wanted to hang out with. And that's such a cool reason. That's such a great answer. I love that answer where, it's sort of parasocial, but very honest in a way. Mm-hmm. And Hunter x Hunter is kind of like the dude version of that. Oh, I love all my dude boys.
Yeah. There's a lot of endearing characters where you're like, I want to hang out with that dude.
Yeah. It's sort of also a testament to platonic male love. I think that's what also people like about it too, because people just really like the friendship of Gon and Killua.
Yeah,
just cute little guys.
People like to do the classic, and you could obviously, it's fair to do this, the classic, reading into it like a yaoi sort of thing.
Lord of the Rings, Frodo and Sam had it as well.
Exactly, but I do think that this story is very, very, clearly about, just friendship and exploring the nature of that, and the group nature of that, too. There's, the core Gon Killua thing, and then the main four slightly expanded to the Leorio and Karapika, and then you have sort of different tertiary groups and a father figure that comes in a little bit later. Not Gon's father, but that's
Mr. Wing.
A season 5 thing. Sorry,
you're talking about Mr. Wing.
Yeah,
Wing is great. He's
that's another one.
Father
is that a different father?
Yeah.
Different father.
Oh
figure?
Yeah. It's just season 5, baby. That's all I
guess
can say.
Bixie too, or whatever her name was.
Bisky Kruger. Oh, I love Bisky. Bisky's so cool.
Short for biscuit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the other thing the show does is in the 3rd season, it has such great women characters, which a lot of shonen manga is sort of not so great with their women characters. I'm a big One Piece fan, but Nami and Robin have these incredible arcs, and then Oda doesn't do anything with them for just years and years and years and years. Whereas, every female character in the Phantom Troop is wonderful and memorable, and is distinct and deep, Machi and Pakunoda. I wanted to get into Pakunoda because, that's sort of the whole crux of the York New City arc, where you talk about how Crollo says the spider can exist without me, but then Pakunoda, through her emotional love of Crollo, decides to fuck that up. She wants to save Crollo above anything else. She can't commit to that ideology because she is so tied to her personal love of this guy. And I think that's great. I think that's such an amazing commentary on how, your emotional state can overcome any sort of ideology that you actually have or profess to have. Pakunoda, great character, amazing character. All of the Phantom Troops, some are less developed than others. You don't really know what Kortopi or Manolinov are up to, but
I like Kortopi. There's one guy who's you occasionally see, he looks like a mummy that I don't think has spoken once.
Yeah, that's Banolinov. You'll get into what he does, but even when you find out what he does, they don't.
Here's another one.
Yeah, you don't really know what his motivations are. Yeah, the Phantom Troop of and I got a special shout out to my boy Feitan. Love Feitan.
Ooh, Feitan is super Sonic Shadow.
Yes, he's definitely Super Sonic Shadow. So yeah, we're just freewheel. There's been a freewheeling discussion of Hunter x Hunter so far, and we can get into other anime too as we talk about this. And I think largely we're trying to get to a thesis of why anime, why especially just the concept of anime avatars I've been thinking about, or the idea that you have so many people on the fash side appropriating anime for their images, or the fact that you have now, like, you have these Zionists with Paikru avatars, doing this cutesy Hasbara shit.
Oh boy, yeah.
Yeah. And so what is that language of anime? Why does it appeal to us? And what is it being used for when we express it politically? Why is there this overlap between this moe cutesy, and what I would say especially clean style with this fash aesthetic as well? I think there's some weird stuff there. But I mean, it's not just fash. Like, everyone appropriates anime stuff for themselves. Every third leftist account I see on Twitter is Misato from Neon Genesis Evangelion. Their profile picture is Misato. Although I found that Eva it's pretty popular. There's some animes that I feel are more popular on the left than they are on the right. I feel like stuff that's popular on the right is like Lucky Star. Stuff that specifically involves little girls and shit like that.
Well, there's the sci-fi, the channel.
Yeah.
They have an article on their website about the troubling relationship between anime and fascism that, let's see, published 2 years ago. And it looks like there's some anime with Nazis in it.
Yes, there are animes with Nazis in it. There's also an anime with which anthropomorphizes the Axis powers. So it's like you have Nazi Germany-san, and you have Nazi Germany-chan.
Does Attack on Titan have some fascist people in it?
Oh, I would love to get into... I know neither of you have seen Attack on Titan.
No, but apparently that's a thing.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Attack on Titan is beloved by the fash, but it explicitly... It's not subtle about its use of fash imagery, which is like... So you can't really accuse it of being crypto-fash because the characters in it are literally brown shirts. And Attack on Titan... I think Wisecrack got it right when it talks about... The main philosophical driving force behind it is like the Carl Schmitt's, the Nazi philosopher's idea of the friend-enemy distinction. But that's sort of what Attack on Titan is all about, and it's sort of an analysis of, what does it mean when your driving philosophy is the friend-enemy distinction. And
there's also an anime called Girls und Panzer, and they're doing their tank girls driving World War II era German tanks.
Oh,
that
boy.
is correct.
Wow.
That is correct.
How could the alt-right latch onto this?
Yeah. They love it.
Yeah. But yeah, what is it about? Because before, you'd think like the idea of cutesifying your hyper-masculine militarized force would be antithetical to this fascist image. The thing that fascist ideologies of yore would preach is these very strict gender roles and portraying this masculine violence force. But now everything has shifted to the point where you're trying to win people over to the side by being like, ooh, cute fascism, fascism.
I think that's exactly what it is. I think that when in like Nazi Germany or these other fascist regimes, when like military fascist power becomes ubiquitous in society, it's easy to look at something like Dragon Ball or Hunter x Hunter, any other shonen or anime in general, and engage with that very shallowly and be like, yeah, that's just like us. That guy, power fantasy is just like reality, and like that's your takeaway. And I think also just like the general sanitizing nature, like we've seen it as far back as SD Gundam, in like whenever that originally came out, like, taking these like threatening agents of death and sanitizing it for easy daily consumption as a as a means of normalizing things. Yes, this is normal because it's even part of the most cute and benign stuff in the world.
And I think the question is has it worked? Because for me, it sort of works for the anime Nazis. It's good at attracting like 4chan people to radicalize them. Because there was this one quote which I heard from one of these like big otaku in Japan, which I always remember, and he talks about why it was like on this exploitative special on hikikomori, herbivore males that choose to opt out and not have sex and just read manga, and he was describing them as they're not like real women. I like these women better because they're clean. There's no dirt on them. There's no goo or substance. There's no heat or sweat. They're clean. And I think that is sort of this part of a fascist aesthetic is this obsession with cleanliness, or is this obsession with
purity,
ridding yourself of imperfection. And I think that sort of hyper exacting style that a lot of anime has, especially for depicting people, and this hyper aestheticized style showing this to be cute and or adorable and hitting all your cute receptors or beauty receptors or aesthetic ideal receptors. I think there is something to that where you associate that purity of that moe anime girl with the purity of your hypothetical master race or whatever. That cleanliness. There's no dirt anymore. There's just, this clean femininity, which I think that's sort of how the psychology mixes with each other. Obviously, anyone who most people don't interpret manga and anime that way. Most people have a healthy relationship with it. But I think when you have an unhealthy relationship, sort of that clean, exacting nature to a lot of manga and anime is what gives it an appeal to the fash.
Yeah, it's also which came first? Maybe on 4chan, did the anime fans become fascist, or did the fascists go to 4chan and get like bleeding over anime content, and they decide to go check out another board? Is 4chan the reason, or is it really something intrinsic to anime? Is my question.
I think 4chan is some of the reason, but I think there is sort of like a readership. A lot of the anime before, especially when it was way more niche, was embraced by people that were sort of lonelier or more isolated, more traditionally introverted or nerdy. And so I think... I don't think anime was associated with it. So 4chan, it was just started initially as an anime board, and it was pretty apolitical for its first 3 years. It didn't really have any... Like, they were... The most political thing I saw them do was, do the anti-Scientology protests, right?
Those were the days.
Yeah. And then when it started...
Yeah. So God.
No, I miss when 4chan was just like the Habbo Hotel raid, which was racist, but but still. But then it was sort of Gamergate that really propelled, or the idea of red pilling, or the idea of this loneliness and incel, like I can't get a date B culture really fomenting in 4chan, and that sort of inherent misogyny leading to a lot of the other elements that would say, not only is this misogyny okay, but, we should restructure the world so it's easier for you to get a hot trad wife. And that became why Jordan Peterson was so popular. I can't get a fucking date. These young white men are coming to me with tears in my eyes. They want their trad anime lobster waifu, and they aren't getting it because society is against them now.
Yeah, I think anime was kind of there ready for the consumption of more isolated and lonely males. That's definitely true. I remember, in high school and in college, there's always the anime club who they would sort of sit alone, and I was friends with them more in high school, but then in college I stopped watching anime, I think. Although I did watch Ninja Scroll. One of the first times
Ninja Scroll is fucking cool.
Yeah, I took a lot of acid and watched Ninja Scroll and had a pretty good time.
Hell yeah.
That was right before we became friends, Alex, I think.
Very nice.
I like to think that's probably how we became friends.
No, we
the
became
universe
friends
led you to me.
No, you started. I don't know. Well, maybe I shouldn't reveal too much of other people's drug use. You started doing something that chilled you out, man. You started getting a lot more chill.
Absolutely. And well, we all get a lot more on a baseline level. That's not true. Some people get much, much angrier as they get older, which is fascinating to me.
Well, do you want to talk about the guy who died at all recently? Kentaro Miura?
Kentaro Miura?
Yeah.
From Berserk. The thing is, that's how much of a pleb. That's how much of anime fans we are. I don't think any of us have watched Berserk or read the manga, right?
I have not, and it's a great shame because I'm a huge Dark Souls and Soulsborne fan. And I know that was just one direct influence of Berserk.
I found a link for the anime. It's on like an archive site with subtitles. But it's only 720 pixels, so you may want a higher res.
Yeah. We should absolutely mention Berserk because Kentaro Miura is one of the... everyone was sharing his panels, his just manga panels when he died, and everyone was commenting, this guy is the closest we got to Hieronymus Bosch or like a Gustave Doré engraving, which I think is not hyperbolic. I think
I don't think it is.
No, that he was that good of a draftsman, and his visions of hell are unique. And he's such he's such a foundational figure because he basically almost single-handedly invented dark fantasy as we know it. Like, there had been dark fantasy books and a precedent set before that, but he really defined the image of what horror fantasy is to be.
He also came up with the trope of a big sword. Having the main character being a little boy with a sword like 4 times his size.
Mm-hmm. Man, that's crazy when you think about it. This was the original big sword guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. No one had thought of a big sword guy before.
Now, what if he had a physically impossible sword that no one could wield? That would show his power.
But lucky, it's a drawing, so you can do whatever you want.
And I think that's one of the appeals of anime as well. I think that's a big reason why a lot of the live-action attempts at anime just fall completely flat.
Yeah, you don't have that same suspension of disbelief when it's, some pretty Japanese guy in a fright wig.
Mm-hmm. But also, for why does Western media seem to translate better? I don't know.
You mean Western comics seem to translate better to live action?
Yeah. Is that just I
think. Okay, so let's put it this way. It comes back to that cleanliness, when you have a clean, hyper-appointed, hyper-specific style. The more you deviate from that hyper-specificity, the more you lose stuff in translation. Where when you see character designs for something like Big Mouth, which are so fuck ugly you wouldn't care if anybody fucked them up. I'm sure Big Mouth wouldn't translate well to live action because it would involve a lot of naked children. That's a weird show.
Yeah.
That's a
2 thumbs down.
Strange show. I like Big Mouth. I think it's funny actually. Or just I don't know. SpongeBob, they've even done live action or CGI. Well, they've done CGI SpongeBob. They haven't done like a live action SpongeBob, but that's coming in the pipeline. Gonna anthropomorphize SpongeBob characters. You're gonna have Ansel Elgort as SpongeBob. Directed by Edgar Wright, and the trailer's like, "I'm ready." And that's how he says it. It's me, Ansel Elgort, and I'm ready. Fucking... Yeah, I think there's... what Western cartoon adaptations can you think have been... I guess all of Marvel. Basically, you can say that.
I don't think they have been good. I don't think there has been that many successful from going from cartoon to live action. Because I can't think of one. I'm trying.
I can think of... There are lots of comic book adaptations that I like. Mystery Men was an adaptation of Flaming Carrot comics, and I always loved the Mystery Men movie, and I recommend it to anybody. I think it's a hidden gem.
I'm going to bring up Thor Ragnarok specifically because not that I think it's like the absolute best in terms of like how it was directed and stuff, but there was something about the visual style. They used a lot of simplistic color palettes and stuff, combined with seamlessly with the CGI and the live action, that it really felt like a live action cartoon.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Thor Ragnarok is like, I have a lot of shit to talk about the Marvel movies, but you'd have to be a dumbass not to understand that Thor Ragnarok is absolutely the most visually arresting out of all of those movies.
It was, yeah.
Because they're gray and bland for a lot. If I was Gordon Ramsay reviewing the look of the Marvel movies, I would be like, bland! It's bland!
Are you a sandwich?
Are you an idiot sandwich, you Russo brothers? We're idiot sandwiches, they say.
He puts bread on that poor woman's face and asks her if she's a sandwich. It's terrible. You shouldn't do that.
No, Gordon Ramsay is misogynistic for doing that. Our fake Gordon Ramsay. But yeah, I think that style of translating Western comics, but also Western comics are drawn a lot more proportionally to how actual humans look, even though not really. I think it's... When you take away the big eyes and the little dot noses, you do absolutely lose something in translation. There is something that's integral to that sort of hyper-distorted, cutesy face that will forever make manga adaptations to live action sort of pale in comparison to their cartoon versions.
Yeah.
But there must be... I mean, the Lone Wolf and Cub movies are good. Yeah.
There's so much in anime where the character is not facing the camera and you can still tell what their reaction is because of something drawn on the back of their head. And I don't it's either a big drop. I still don't know what that signifies. It's some squiggly lines making a frowny face. I'm not sure what that means either. But I'm cognizant of the fact that reactions are taking place while the character is not looking at the camera through things being drawn on their head. How would you even approach doing that in live action?
You'd do it like an Edgar Wright movie where you just straight up draw the drop. you draw the big teardrop.
What does that mean, the teardrop? Can you explain this so I can understand?
Oh, that's whenever somebody... It's like a big sweat drop, essentially. It's when somebody is feeling nervous and you start sweating. So the image is a big sweat drop.
Okay.
You know. If someone's feeling embarrassed, they start sweating. In the West, our version of that is that Key and Peele meme where Jordan Peele is sweating a lot.
Yeah.
That's our Western. In the West, you see.
We have someone who knows the East versus West distinction.
I know the distinction between East and West. One is on your left hand and one is on your right hand. And the one on your right hand is where all the anime comes from.
Wow.
But yeah, so anime obviously is not just the realm of the fash. It's for everybody. It's become mainstream popular. You know, it's on Netflix. Half of like the top Netflix views are animes. You know, normies are into it now, which is a very interesting development. But you know, when someone has an anime avatar, they outwardly present themselves as being an anime fan. They tend to... I feel like the people that carry themselves that way tend to drift towards the more right-wing orientation. But that's just a feeling. I have nothing to back that up.
I do follow at least one leftist account that just constantly retweets kawaii shit.
Okay.
So I would hope that this is just like some weird vocal gamer-gatey minority. Like there's a whole politics to being like I'm a video game fan, but like I don't necessarily call myself a gamer very readily because of connotations related to that. So I don't know.
See, you're afraid to demonstrate your gamer identity because of anti-gamer sentiment. This has to end.
Yeah.
You know, that was a thing with Israel. There's now, like, because of Palestine, there in the news cycle, there's this, we must denounce anti-Semitism in all its forms, because apparently when you talk about Palestine a lot, all of the people are worried that, you're criticizing the Jews a little too much. It might result in some pogroms, which I think is stupid. I think it's just a way to neuter discussion about Palestine.
You can make that argument about anything. Like, what, we're not supposed to criticize China or stuff like that. Like, the news has gone whole hog on that file. And I'm not going to proclaim to be an expert on what's happening in Xinjiang, but, like, what's happening in Palestine is pretty apparent.
We know way more about what's happening in Palestine than what's happening in Xinjiang.
Yeah, we have a whole great firewall to block anything from getting out.
Yeah. I mean, it's like with China, it's always like Schrodinger's war crimes. You know, there's always, there might be and might not be some war crimes going on in China, and we'll never know until we open the digital box they're all contained in. But we don't have the keys to that digital box, and we won't for a while, probably, or ever.
Yeah, I don't know if ever. I don't know. I think we're going to have a segmented internet more likely, with countries walling themselves off. Or we'll probably have like a Western, like Europe and America we share an internet. That's kind of how it is.
Just like 1984.
Yeah.
It's just as George Orwell predicted, a segmented internet.
You think George Orwell would have been a Jordan Peterson fan?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think so.
No, he would have been like, in 1984 was all about cleaning your room. You know,
Yeah.
if Winston has cleaned his room,
He would have found...
police.
Yeah.
But yeah, talk about obsession with cleanliness. There you go. Clean your room. Obsession with order and tradition. And, you know, the reason why a lot of these fash anime guys sort of go for, like, the weird little girl animes, too, is because it dovetails into their weird Evo Psych idea that, we should get them young. We should like them as young as possible because that's how men in the hunter-gatherer societies were, and we should not fight our programming. You know, and that sort of goes along with this Jordan Peterson reclaim misogyny in order to reclaim masculinity idea.
It makes a lot of sense. I was talking to a libertarian friend of mine earlier, and he was saying how, you know, you gotta, like, it's just like age, like these laws, they just like they just set that date there.
You know, it's arbitrary. How old is 15 really? You know,
I'm of course joking. I do not have I do not keep that kind of company.
Okay.
Yeah, we do not have Glenn Greenwald-esque age of consent views.
So that's bringing up the last topic of the day, which is the Glenn Greenwald versus Alan Dershowitz match. It's just like a nen. It's like a nen fight. Almost.
It is a nen fight. They will use their respective nen powers against each other. Glenn Greenwald will just say some incredibly bitchy stuff to Alan Dershowitz. You're a stupid hack journalist, and no one cares about you, and you're not going anywhere, and you're a stupid little piss baby, and I'm Glenn Greenwald, and I know the things. And Alan Dershowitz will be like, I'm a goblin.
Yeah.
I'm a goblin man. I don't like the Muslims at all. I like when wives are dead.
They're like on the same side of everything. I don't think they have much to debate, right?
The debate is about government surveillance, apparently.
Oh. Yeah, they're probably basically on the same side.
I think Glenn is taking the old anti-surveillance side, and Dershowitz is taking the monitor your shit side. Government NSA agent monitoring your shits for terrorism side.
I support all forms of surveillance except on boats.
That's good. Man. Didn't Alan Dershowitz's first wife die under mysterious circumstances?
I believe so.
Man. He spent his whole career with sort of... Because it was that one, it was the Sonny von Bülow one, where Klaus von Bülow had allegedly choked Sonny von Bülow into a coma. And then, of course, very famously, OJ. So yeah, he's around a lot of dead wives, you know. Mm-hmm. You know the mid-90s movie The First Wives Club? Well, Alan Dershowitz's movie would be called The Dead Wives Club.
Wow. Wah, wah.
Wah, wah.
I should load that up in my soundboard. I have to make a soundboard for the show, I've decided.
Yeah.
I have to make
we're radio guys now.
You gotta find your niche.
Yeah. Because I can click, but then there's always an audible click. And I have to go edit out the clicks. But if I got a soundboard, then I could just tap my pad, my sound pad.
Tap your sound pad.
Tap my sound pad.
Alan Dershowitz versus Glenn Greenwald. Yeah, people were commenting real alien versus predator situation, you know. Whoever wins, we lose. But I choose to take the optimistic thought on that. Whoever loses, we win. You know, glass half full sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, I don't think Glenn stands a chance against the superior intellect. There's already I think, they aren't they the group of people who are like Jews are smarter than everyone else? Like, they're all Andrew Sullivan people. I know. We know who Andrew Sullivan thinks is going to win.
Wait, but both of them are Jewish.
Oh, right, but who's more Ashkenazi? I mean, it's percentages.
Who's more Ashkenazi?
Who's more Ashkenazi?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Glenn has more Sephardim, so he's right out, you know. It's do these Andrew Sullivan. Andrew Sullivan would have he wouldn't be able to understand Nen. He would be like, everyone should be enhancers. Whoever has the most aura clearly is the... He wouldn't understand how Karapika could defeat Uvogan.
No, Andrew Sullivan would be an easy opponent to defeat in the world of Hunter x Hunter.
Yeah, he wouldn't have a very creative Nen use.
Yeah, Glenn Greenwald would be much more difficult. He's a specialist. He can use all the different powers.
Which Trump son is the real dullard?
Which Trump son is the real dullard?
Like, I guess they both are.
No, one of them is the smart one.
I think Eric is the smart one. Anyways, I'm trying to just think of like fighting Don Jr. with Nen.
Yeah.
Oh, fighting Don Jr. What would he would? I mean, I feel like Eric would be. He would have like gum transfiguration powers. He would be like Bungee Gum, except he would use his teeth gums, and he could expand them and manipulate them. Maybe that's more. No, that's an enhancer. They're both enhancers because they're both simplistic. They wouldn't be able to do anything.
Yeah, we didn't go over that, but there's different. You can have different types. Be a different type of Nen user. There's like 6 different types, and you can't change. I thought that was very interesting. There's no changing your type. You're born with your type. And you have to figure it out, and you can't change it. It's immutable.
No, you can only sort of like dip into adjacent categories. Mm-hmm. It's like INTJP crap.
Yeah,
but
the Myers-Briggs test, except it really works. So what would Glenn Greenwald's Nen power be? What do you think his Nen ability? You said he would be a specialist. What's his special ability?
I think it would be called every time someone in Hunter x Hunter uses a power, that like the screen pauses and there's the Japanese characters of what the name of the power is and some cool music that goes with it. And I would think his is something like bitchy typewriter. And it's like he can just shoot the keys of a typewriter at you, and they like penetrate your body and kill you, something like that.
He's sort of an emission guy more. He would say.
Yeah, he's one.
Or like the bitchiness of his comment makes the Nen bullets shoot harder, or something like that. The bitchier the comment he makes, the harder the Nen bullet hits.
That's kind of a conjurer ability, but I think he might be a specialist and able to use all the different abilities, just because he's so slippery.
Yeah. Alan Dershowitz, he would absolutely be a manipulator.
Yeah,
no doubt
exactly
in my
what
mind.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
But what would his manipulation power be?
He would have if he is in closer proximity to a dead wife, he can manipulate a person more
like
effectively.
Greasy massage.
Yeah. The closer proximity he is to women suffering, which is why he had to go to the Epstein Island in order to refuel his Nen abilities constantly.
Suffer siphon.
Yeah, yes, he is Suffer Siphon. And he can project this suffering onto other people so that they're less mentally acute. And then he is able to...
That's it. Wow.
Yeah. So we have Bitchy Typewriter versus Suffer Siphon. And who will win? A specialist versus a manipulator? I'm guessing, the specialist. Honestly, they have a lot of advantages.
But Alan Dershowitz is older. He has more experience in the ring, in the battle ring, as it were. So don't rule him out because he may just due to experience alone. And that's an important aspect of the universe, is that experience matters. We're always being taught that every episode. Don't be too cocky, because someone older and more experienced may know ways to beat you.
This is the ultimate tournament. I wish there was a tournament of thought leader debates where Glenn would debate Alan Dershowitz and then he would move on to debate fucking Jake Tapper or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Who would progress far in that tournament using rhetoric, using Nen rhetoric.
Chomsky.
Yeah, Chomsky. Chomsky is like the chairman. He's he's the
Netero
Yeah.
of the Thought Leader Association, of the Thought Hunter Association. Oh man, we were talking about thinking about just getting into general animes. We got 15 minutes left. Let's talk about some other animes we like. Marino, what are some other animes you would recommend?
Well, first and foremost, I mentioned it a bit earlier, but Legend of the Galactic Heroes, absolutely one of the best pieces of fiction I've ever watched. It's 120 episodes of political intrigue and sort of space politics, but it's a million times better than Star Wars, and dare I say even maybe better than Star Trek. But I digress. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Great one. I've seen that one. It's everyone. That's such a great one that everyone knows that it's the greatest one.
Yeah, Code Geass.
Code Gay Ass. Sorry.
Death Note back in the day, a dub on YTV.
Yeah, Death Note up until L dies. I even like the episodes after L dies. NGL, not gonna lie, I still think Death Note's kind of got it, even after L dies. That's all I'm gonna say.
And another one I'll bring up, I've seen a few more than that. I'm not going to go through Dragon Ball Z and Inuyasha.
Well, you can go through the super popular stuff because everybody likes Dragon Ball Z. I mean, I think Dragon Ball Z is probably one of the most... Are you wearing a Dragon Ball Z t-shirt right now? You are. You're wearing a Goku and Piccolo eyes t-shirt. That is... See, that's how pervasive and wonderful it is.
Yeah, it's just, I don't think it's the highest quality anime, obviously, I've ever seen, but I came around to it. There was a bit of a teenage period where it was I liked this when I was 8, but nah, it's an absolute stone cold classic.
It's a banger. It gets, Boo Saga's weird, but...
and I'll just leave you off with Monster. I highly recommend Monster. It's sort of like a psychological thriller and very not a lot of kawaii sort of stuff. It's just more of a good story one if you're into that.
Yeah, I downloaded a bunch of Monster back in high school. I think I got through episode 60, but it's hard to remember. That during my brief anime phase, I watched A lot of Death Note. I also watched one called Ergo Proxy.
Ergo Proxy is really good.
Pretty cool, but I remember torrenting it, and the files were corrupted like halfway through, and then not being able to find another source. So didn't get to finish that one. What about you, Alex? What are your big ones?
I love One Piece. I am a massive One Piece fan. I am a One Piece guy. I love it. It's the greatest story ever told. It's extremely flawed. It has a lot of its ups and downs. Some arcs are better than others. But Oda, who's more than 20 years into this, the fact that he's able to produce his best material, 20 years into it, and he's still, cranking out really good shit. Even though arcs are uneven, you always know that he's got something good coming up in him. I'm just amazed at that tenacity and the fact that it all basically does fit together clunkily, and he does what's that thing called? What's the word I'm looking for? Not retro-scripting. He retcons. He retcons a lot of stuff out of necessity by the fact that the world is so sprawling and massive and unwieldy. But it all essentially fits together, and the thesis of the piece has remained unchanged, where it is about the thesis of One Piece, contrasted to Hunter x Hunter, which is about, sort of existing within a weird and brutal system. One Piece is about defying a weird and brutal system, because eventually the world government has always been the main enemy. Beyond, just the antagonistic pirates, the world government is the big boss of the world, and it is the one that has the institutional power to, do a buster call. I mean, One Piece is, has a lot of revolutionary politics, way more so than Hunter x Hunter.
My perception of One Piece is so damaged by that dog shit 4Kids fucking dub. For you're thinking, my perception of it is yayo, and this is the most childish, worse than Naruto thing ever. But what you're describing, what everyone who's been a fan of this thing in the years since that I've seen online is describing, is nothing like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's also sad that they changed it to the stupid rap intro, because One Piece, the original intro to One Piece, is one of the greatest anime songs ever written. We are Aritekeno Umeo Ujitu Adaway.
Do they produce new episodes of the TV show too in Japan?
Yes. Although, but the One Piece anime is notoriously not so great because they really stretch out the material, and the quality of the animation is fairly low. One Piece, the anime is great, basically up until the end of the Enies Lobby arc, and that's when they start really stretching out the material and cutting a lot of corners with the animation, and it starts looking a lot different and more angular and jagged and lazier. Which is sort of a necessity when you're producing a thing. I don't blame them for doing it, but it's not consistently beautiful, say the Attack on Titan anime is, which is very consistently well animated. I would also like to say Attack on Titan is great, even though it ends ambiguously, and sort of you could very much interpret it as having a pro-fash ending. I really do think it ends ambiguously enough to the point where it doesn't explicitly endorse that sort of worldview, but Attack on Titan is very fraught because you can absolutely read a lot of, not so much sort of fascist ideas, but I would say more Japanese imperialist ideas. One of the characters, Doc Pixis, is famously based on a World War II era general. No, not a World War II, a Russo-Japanese War era general, which is, also beloved by a lot of Japanese fascists. And so there's some sort of also apologism for the war crimes that Japan did in Korea that may have been attributed to Isayama, the creator of Attack on Titan. So it's sort of, there's speculation on what he actually believes. But I don't think it matters really so much because the manga is ambiguous enough that you can draw your own conclusions from it. And so people really hated the ending to it. They thought it, like, really was formally endorsing fascist stuff, which I kind of did at first, but then after reading it again, I was like, it's a little more ambiguous than I give it credit for. And the whole show is great. It's just horror. It's a genre that also Berserk created, which is epic horror, which is something that's amazing because usually horror is relegated to like a single room or a family dwelling. Usually in the West, we understand horror as being sort of very intimate, and that's why horror movies are often low budget because you can film them in like a single room or you can film them with like a cast of 3 people and achieve stuff. Horror is sort of
what about Interview with a Vampire?
Well, yeah, there's stuff like that, but I know that's not really a horror movie. That's more of like a gay sex movie. That's a yaoi movie. But even like epic horror, which has like stuff with like an amazing scope, which Berserk definitely did. It had this amazing, epic, historical, materialist scope, like understanding, not just. Understanding the horror of Berserk's world, but also the consequences of there being horror in this Berserk world. And I think the same would apply to Attack on Titan, where it has this very canny, materialist analysis of what a world of containing Titans would entail for, how society gets along and for how people treat war and commerce and shit like that. And so I think Attack on Titan's world building is incredible, which I think is enough to recommend it as well. And see, these are all very popular animes we've talked about. None of these, we're not hardcore anime guys. Mm-hmm. So this episode is for people that have never seen it at all, basically, and just don't know where to begin.
Yeah, you don't want to start, is it FLCL? You don't want to start with that show.
I have seen that show.
You won't understand. You won't understand anything.
And Evangelion. Always got to shout out Evangelion.
Great. Good.
The greatest one ever done.
Yeah, that one with 2001 A Space Odyssey I can't finish. I get 15 minutes in and I fall asleep. And I'm like, well, try again next year to finish either one of these 2 things everyone says is so amazing that puts me right to sleep.
I like both of them.
Miyazaki movies, good place to start.
Yeah, got to start with. I would actually say the anime that you should the anime series that you should start with is Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Yeah, that's a super solid starting point.
That's like one of the best starting anime. It's one of the best ones ever. The story is super tight. It's really deep and horrifying, and asks questions about. It's all about scientism, and it's all about. Why do we place science as the primary source of knowledge and what that leads to in a society? Full Metal Alchemist also has themes of fascism, and there are themes of ethnic cleansing in Full Metal Alchemist.
But it engages with them much more critically.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It definitely, in a way that it explicitly denounces them in a way that something like Attack on Titan doesn't explicitly denounce, but sort of demonstrates that, he knows... Isayama knows that fascism is bad. So I think we can surmise.
If you're looking for like just a fun time, I would also recommend Golgo 13, which is a super long-running manga series about like a hyper assassin James Bond type, but he's not like so much of a womanizer as he is this weirdo loner. It's really interesting and well written, and it's just like it's casual. They're like one shots, so you could just pick up a chapter and just read a cool spy story.
Also, if you're looking for an anime just to marvel at incredible animation, the movie I would recommend is called Redline. There's a movie called Redline, which is a space racing movie, and it is like the most beautiful hand-drawn animation I've ever seen. Not, it's just the story is okay, but it's like you can just watch the movie because every frame is incredible, and they put so much work into everything in that, and it just flows so beautifully and smoothly in terms of a visual aesthetic. And so I think that's a good place to end. Marino, do you have any plugs?
No, not beyond listen to Big Shiny Takes. We have new episodes every week. Some of those weeks they are bonus episodes, so you have to be a patron. But yeah, check us out. We've got a bunch of stuff up there already. If you are interested in hearing a bunch of dudes make fun of hilariously bad ideas in newspapers.
Oh yeah, I recommend the Nora Loretto episode, which is generally seen as your biggest banger episode, because you guys go. Nora's incredible rage also gets you guys going as well, and it's very good.
She was such an incredible, like, just font of passion for like the greater good, and it's inspiring. It's like that's what you want to see in a journalist. Of course, she's blacklisted by the mainstream Canadian media because that's how things work in this country.
Fired for truth.
Yeah, she was. She pointed out a very obvious imbalance in the way we treat sort of like the Humboldt tragedy as opposed to various other constantly ongoing and very easy to stop tragedies in this country. And then that was obviously a super un-Canadian move.
Yeah, well, because we didn't. She was dissing our little white hockey boys.
Yeah.
Sad.
Who must be venerated without question.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, that's a sad thing that happened, but she absolutely had a valid point and did not deserve to get blacklisted. You can cut all this. I'm just rambling. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. I had a lot of fun.
You're so welcome. Everybody needs to go to bigshinytakes.com, and you can look at their awesome website, subscribe there. There's a link to the Patreon. You want to subscribe to the Patreon. That's bigshinytakes.com. And this has been your weekly episode of House of Decline. I hope everybody has a great week.
Baka!